There has been a lot of talk about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom lately, from Nintendo showing off an incredible 3+ minute trailer to the big gameplay demonstration. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is dominating the video game airwaves in the Nintendo space. But there's also been a lot of talk about The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom and how this game was marketed. Was it $70 DLC? There was a lot of discussion and controversy back and forth. And to be honest here, guys, looking at it overall, the marketing was absolutely genius, and Nintendo knew exactly what was going to happen. Whether you like it or not, it really was. Now let's go ahead and break this down, because The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has done something pretty crazy that nobody probably thought would happen beforehand, especially with the popularity level of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom compared to another major blockbuster franchise in Japan, which we will get to in just a bit. Now, the one thing about the marketing with this game, you have to look at it in various different factors here, guys. You have the mysterious nature of it. This game, huge sequel to a game that is so renowned. So it's mysterious. What's going on with it? What's happening with the story? Legend of Zelda is a storied franchise. It is a classic franchise that has a lot of crazy lore and mysterious natures about it. So that's already inherently baked into this new game. Then you have that mysteriousness that leads to intrigue, and then from intrigue leads to discussion, and then from discussion, obviously more people talking about it, more people discussing everything that's happening with this game, which therefore that is the marketing cycle, making sure people talk and know about your game, regardless of how you get it done. And that's exactly what the Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom marketing loop for the past number of years did before we got this major drop, which once again, it was formulated that way, and we'll talk exactly why it's smart when we go into some of the other things that we'll discuss here. Now, when information finally does get dropped, that value of surprise is something that Nintendo has used before. The Nintendo Directs were kind of like that in terms to surprise people and get people information closer to when the game is actually going to drop, to drum up that excitement. That can really be underrated in terms of what that can do for your sales, pre-orders, people just rushing out there, FOMO, to get something if it looks incredible and everyone is discussing on it on a specific isolated day. Now, everyone rushing to talk about that can just cause so much more excitement and just drive things up once again. Now, being bombarded with info over the course of a long time for a game, in my opinion, isn't the way to really drive up excitement. It's not something that really gets people hyped or, okay, this is great. It really just kind of lags and stagnates, in my opinion. Now, obviously, with the biggest games, you can do that and maybe you have success. But for the most part, what you see a lot is that you see a lot of developers waiting a bit, releasing some information, waiting, and then kind of putting out more information, especially with Nintendo's games, or essentially just shadow dropping something like we saw with Xenoblade Chronicles 3 Future Redeemed. They really only showed us one trailer beforehand and then dropped it and said, you're going to be able to get it next week. Boom, it shot up on trending everywhere. People were talking about it like crazy last night, and even still to this point, it's 400,000 views plus for Xenoblade. That is incredible to have that in that amount of time, considering many Xenoblade Chronicles 2 trailers didn't even reach that amount or struggled to reach that amount at this point years later. So that is an incredible thing. It's something that works, that hype, that drive, that excitement with no information, not knowing, speculation, talking about it, then all of a sudden, bam, because we've known about this DLC that's coming, for a while now, but there really wasn't any information up until recently. So I think that really works to the advantage in terms of marketing. It drives that mysterious element, fans to continue to talk about it, speculate until we get something. Then it's like an explosion of happiness from all the fans out there. Now, if you look at the pre-orders, because we can talk about, excitement and everything, but if it doesn't actually translate into sales, into pre-orders, then your marketing isn't working. Then the marketing isn't factually good, because that's what marketing is about, making sure people know about your product and then also having these sales results. Those are two things. You gotta have the marketing to drive the pre-orders and to drive the sales. And across the world right now, we see that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is absolutely dominating across the world. It really is on Amazon and also the pre-order charts. And I think that what we need to focus on is this. And this is the crazy thing that I was talking about beforehand with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. In Japan, the pre-orders are exploding in the COMG Japanese retail when it comes to mega hit franchises. So on mega hit franchises that Nintendo has on the Switch, You have Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, you have Monster Hunter Rise, you have Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Splatoon 3, and Animal Crossing New Horizons. Pierre has talked about this and I've discussed it quite a bit more, but we have a little bit of an update. This is updated to April 16th, but it illustrates exactly what is going on because The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom has actually passed up Splatoon 3 launch aligned with pre-orders in the COMG. Now, the COMG is a specific chain of about 14 stores all located in Japan, and they really track things, and it's not everything. It's not everything when it comes to the data, but it gives you an idea of what is happening with the pre-orders, and it is spiking very high. This is going to be the best launching Legend of Zelda game of all time, and it's above when it comes to the mega hit pre-orders. It's above Splatoon 3 at this point. That is incredible, and it looks like it could surpass Super Smash Bros. Ultimate or even get to Monster Hunter Rise levels in Japan before launch. Now, if you would have said this for The Legend of Zelda beforehand, like let's say 10 years ago or so, you would have not seen that because The Legend of Zelda has always been a bigger and more popular franchise in the US. But what we're seeing now is that The Legend of Zelda has now spiked up to the point to where it can be as big as Splatoon, because Splatoon was just massive with Splatoon 3 and Splatoon 2 in Japan. That's always been more of a heavily focused in terms of the rush and excitement in Japan, and now The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is surpassing it in pre-orders when it comes to Splatoon 3. That is just something that a lot of us probably didn't call, considering what Splatoon 3 has done in the country of Japan. Remember, Splatoon 3 went on to sell in the first 3 days 1.9 million units, and the pre-orders were incredibly good. So to see that The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom is outpacing that, we could see sales surpass that amount in the first 3 days. So very impressive there, but once again, that's because of the marketing. That's because of the spike of excitement. That's because of waiting and not just sitting there and talking about it over the course of time, where fans just get beat over their head with information. It's like, okay, I'll pre-order it whenever. But when you have that huge jump or spike of information, when we didn't know about things and people are speculating, it brings that level of excitement up, and it gets people to FOMO and definitely go out there, rush and get a pre-order. That's exactly what we're seeing here. Now, another example I want to give is the game Deathloop, because sometimes with the marketing, there is a thing as an overexposure to where fans feel that they have seen everything, and that's kind of what I alluded to a bit before. Deathloop is a game where Sony simply showed it off way too many times before launch at big shows, to the point to where people felt that they've already seen everything, and it wasn't really as exciting. The game got incredible scores, but it's not like it rushed up the pre-order charts or rushed up the sales charts. There was just a lot already shown about the game, and obviously that's a new IP. It does not have the history of The Legend of Zelda, so of course you want to show it and you want to make sure people know about the game, but it almost felt like, okay, we've seen this, whatever, whenever it comes out. There wasn't as much excitement about the game beforehand compared to having a spike marketing campaign where all of a sudden there's this great big information, there's this new game or this new piece of content, and then everyone is talking about it. But over the course of a month, 2 months, 3 months, or whatever the case is, you're consistently showing the same thing, and people are just waiting for it to finally just come out. So I think that that was a negative way of really just showing too much of the game, whereas Zelda, they're like, we're gonna hold things close to our chest, then really drum up that excitement right before the game is going to launch, which obviously is working at this point. Now, the intrigue with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom kept people just talking about the game. The search results on Google, the videos coming near endlessly, as fans couldn't help but speculate and discuss this game and what's happening with it. Even the negative publicity ended up being good publicity with gamers, going back and forth saying it's $70 DLC or not, fans discussing and dissecting things being showed, trying to point out new content and features, while other fans were saying, no, that's not very new. All of that discourse really did help. This all resulted in a lot of extra and free marketing to keep the game alive and talked about and relevant. And you cannot convince me Nintendo didn't bank on that actually happening, then blowing peeps' minds with the gameplay presentation, and put the cherry on top, the third trailer, the third official trailer. They even saved the Tears of the Kingdom OLED till after the gameplay presentation to drive that console FOMO hype after that event. That was genius. It was all planned and curated based on what was happening. Now, even at this point, people are still scouring through each bit of new footage Nintendo revealed, looking for clues, discussing possible theories, and so much more. That 3-minute trailer explained and showed more, but it brought about so many questions that just leaves a huge cloud of intrigue about the story and gameplay. Now, the crazy thing about Breath of the Wild is that it had a very similar marketing campaign in terms of what was shown to The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It was actually somewhat equal here, but since it was the first major new HD Zelda game and not $70, there wasn't as much skepticism, and the hype of a new console with the Nintendo Switch launching alongside it helped mitigate any discussion on Nintendo not showing enough footage. Now, that same lack of info was brilliant, because once we got that 2017 Switch trailer, hype exploded and helped drive the whole Switch system at launch. Nintendo is absolutely trying to replicate that here with The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Now, another thing, with the gameplay secrets being a mystery, players will find really cool stuff to talk about amongst their friends, post cool videos about it, and this will absolutely help the word of mouth spread for years to come. Breath of the Wild had so many things that Nintendo never discussed and left players to find. That resulted in long-term discussion of the game and kept the sales excellent for the past 6+ years, because people are still finding new things in this game. Now, honestly, it was a masterclass in marketing, and it's paying off big time at this point, with Tears of the Kingdom really set to become the biggest Zelda launch of all time by far. So what do you guys think about this when it comes down to it? I think that this marketing campaign was successful, whether you like it or not. There's enough information to show that. The fact that it beat out Splatoon 3 is another huge notch on the belt when it comes to the pre-orders in Japan, and people being incredibly excited about what this game is going to offer to players out there. Of course, let me know what you think in the comment section below, and check out some of my other Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom videos when I've discussed different aspects about the game with developers talking about it and so much more. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you for the next video. Peace.